Hey, welcome back to Score on Business. Okay, for the remainder of the show, what I'm going to do is share with everybody some of there are concepts that come up over and over and over from successful entrepreneurs and management consultants that have been guests on Score on Business. And so what I'm going to do is kind of share some of those things that continue to come up because obviously they're significant success factors. So, and this is not exhaustive. I had to pick the most important ones. Before you get started, why do you want to start a business? And what matters to you? Being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's hard. And what matters enough to you to continue the fight when it becomes painful? And trust me, there will be plenty of painful experiences. And so what is the passion? What is the purpose that is going to enable you to keep after it as failures rack up? And there will be mistakes and failures. It's how it goes. Another thing, funding. How are you going to pay your bills until you make enough money to live on? And their funding from other sources is not easy to get. It is very rare that a bank will lend to a startup. So then you start looking at angel investors and venture capitalists, and it is difficult to convince them to invest in your business. And if they do, you no longer have autonomy. He who pays the fiddler calls the tune, and so you lose autonomy by bringing folks in, and just be aware of that. What do you want to achieve and why? Kind of like Stephen Covey used to say, begin with the end in mind. Know what it is you would like to achieve. Know that where you really want to go. So next, let's talk about growing your business. How are you going to gain customers? And one thing that has never ceased to amaze me is that at SCORE, we have many classes. One of the classes is accounting and bookkeeping. We have a hard time getting people to come to the marketing class, a hard time getting people to come to the sales class, and everybody wants to go to the accounting class. Well, if you don't have customers, there's nothing to account for. There's no business. And so it's really important to think about how you're going to gain customers. And you'll certainly need to look at marketing. We don't have enough time to go into a lot of the different marketing concepts, and there are different concepts that apply to different kinds of businesses. One thing, though, is to know what's going to make you different. How are you going to differentiate? It's really important to be able to have something that's unique about what you're doing, either a niche that you focus on or how you're going to differentiate. One thing that is, now we're getting to some things that are just critical. Culture and leadership. And if you watch Score on Business consistently, culture and leadership comes up time after time after time after time. And so be deliberate about your culture. And the culture begins when you're a one-person company. And so it's really important to decide who you want your company to be. And it's important to know this isn't exactly where customer focus goes, but it's important. Humans see the world through their eyes. And as an entrepreneur, you have to spend part of your life seeing the world through your customers' eyes. And so you need to understand what's important to them, what they're willing to pay for, what is going to allow you to succeed, and your culture needs to be built around that. So, for example, manufacturing is very low margin. Their cost and managing cost is important for any business. It's critical for manufacturing, as an example. Employees matter. And that is probably the most consistent message that has come. It's important to hire the right people. Our guest that was just on, Joanne Ecton, shared a lot about that, about how to get the right people. Guest from the last show, Chris Redditch, talked about that as well. And so it's what you do for how your employees feel about being there is going to have a real impact on what they deliver to your customers and how much they put in to their job. Now, being an entrepreneur in the beginning, you may not have a lot of money. And so look at what you can do to make it a great place to work that might not cost as much. You want to, people are more engaged and more happy when they have a job that focuses on their strengths. And so taking the time to learn about people's strengths is something, and allow them to work where they can focus in those strengths is very valuable. Respect, treating people respectfully. And it never ceases to amaze me, leadership that really doesn't look out for their folks. And you know, there's a saying which we've all heard, people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And understanding, caring about the team is important. Try to make it fun. And respect means nastiness is not allowed. Now, conflict is good. Conflict, you know, having people have differences of opinion is good. And the thing is to develop a culture where that conflict works out with no nastiness, you know, with no shaming, with no nastiness. That's what has to go. The conflict itself is good. Make it fun place to work. Many entrepreneurs may or may not have been a leader before. One of the most important skills for a leader is accountability. And in a pleasant manner, it's important to hold folks accountable for what needs to be done. It's important to, a lot of people avoid it because they don't want to hurt someone's feelings, or they don't want to, but the reality is that it's really important to share with people when there is a chance for them to improve. And as the team grows, you want to have that accountability become the management. Shame-free, vulnerable, I can never say this word, vulnerability. That still didn't get it right. Shame-free, vulnerable, okay, you know what I'm talking about. What's so critical about that is people need to feel that it's okay for them to not be perfect, that they can make mistakes and they're not going to be shamed, that they can admit where they're not as good at something and let somebody else do it, where they can admit they're not as good and let someone who's stronger in that area help them out. Okay, so that is what we'll cover on this for today. Thanks so much for watching Score on Business. Remember, scorenashville.org. Thank you.